Today we're going to be taking a look at why I switched from Reef Crystals salt mix to RPM by Fritz or Reef Pro mix. What's up everyone, welcome back to the Coral Reef Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about salt mixes, and more specifically I'm going to be making the switch from Reef Crystals to Fritz Reef Pro mix or Fritz RPM. Now we're going to be taking a look at how these two salt mixes mix up side by side, compare the results, and look at the reason why I switched. Now it's important to have a good salt mix when setting up a reef tank and to keep it going long term, because your salt is what initially mixes up your calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium levels, and every time you do a water change you want to keep your parameters as stable as possible, so you want to mix up each batch of water the same. And you want to make sure you find a good salt mix that has some good quality control and are good on their parameters as far as those three levels. You know that every time you mix up that salt, you're going to get consistent readings each and every time. Now, I've been using Reef Crystals by Instant Ocean for years, and it's a great salt mix, but I'm switching over to Fritz RPM, the Reef Pro mix, and this is why. I mean, I talked to Sean from Fritz and he brought up a lot of good points about how you mix your salt, what type of salt you should use, and more specifically the quality control process behind Fritz. Now if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. It's in the Reefapalooza playlist. I'll put a link in the description below, and you can also click right up here to go check out that video. But more on this salt. Like I said, they have a great quality control process, and what they do is they make smaller batches. A lot of times salt mix can be made in a very large batch, and if you do larger batches there's room for inconsistencies. So the smaller batches that Fritz runs, it allows them to have more quality control and pump out a more consistent process that mixes up and gives you the same results every single time you make your water. So I'm not switching from Reef Crystals because there's something wrong with the company or there's something wrong when I mix up the salt. Like I said, I've been using it for years, seeing great coral growth, great stability within my tank. I'm switching to Reef Pro mix by Fritz because I believe in the quality control process that they have, and I've also seen a lot of great reviews on the product, so I wanted to give it a try. Okay, so we have two containers with RODI water, 0 TDS. We're going to add in each of the two salt mixes, the Fritz RPM and the Reef Crystals. We're going to mix them up, do a little test, and see how they differ in any way. So the first one we're going to mix up is the Reef Crystals. I have a bag of Reef Crystals here, and it says about a half a cup per gallon. So we're going to mix that up, and then we'll check the salinity or the specific gravity after with a refractometer and see how they measure up. So there's one. Okay, so we'll do the same thing with the Fritz RPM, and then we'll see how they both check out. Okay, so now it's time to compare the two salt mixes. Right over here I put some RPM that we mixed up previously in this cup and Reef Crystals in this cup right here. Now I'm going to be checking for calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. I'm going to record the results, share it with you guys, and we'll see how they compare. So let's get started. My tank salinity is at 1.026. However, both of these salts, I mixed them up to 1.025. I'm probably going to speed this part of the video up so it kind of time lapse and jumps through it, but we're going to start with calcium. And yes, I always open up my instruction sheet here. I like to have it open so I can see the calcium table, and I'm reminded of the steps, instructions right over here. I do this all the time, but I always end up opening the instruction sheet anyways. So we're going to start with calcium first. So we're going to put this right here, and we'll start with, I guess we'll put it here, and we're going to start with the RPM salt, see how that mixes up. Okay, so the results are in. Let me move this out of the way. And we have the RPM salt coming in at a salinity of 1.025, 440 for calcium, 9.9 DKH alkalinity, 1440 magnesium. And then we have the reef crystals coming in at 1.025 salinity, at 400 calcium, 9.3 on the alkalinity, and it looks like around 1350 for the magnesium. Maybe a little human error here and there, but those are the results that I got for both of these. And it looks like the RPM has obviously higher values of each one of those parameters. So it looks like I'm gonna be going with the RPM. So I'm gonna give that a try on my tank and see how it goes. Now I'm gonna transition to the salt slowly. I think you want to, like anything in the hobby, you want to go slow. Bad things happen quickly. So I'm going to mix a little bit of this with my reef crystal mix in my RODI container. So it'll probably be like half and half mixture of the two salts until I slowly phase out the reef crystals, and then I'll be at the full RPM. So I'm going to phase out reef crystals and try RPM from Fritz. And you can see here that the results, you have a lot higher calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity with the RPM Reef Pro mix from Fritz. So that's it for this episode of the Coral Reef Talk. If you've transitioned from one reef salt mix to the next, and even if you've switched from reef crystals to Fritz RPM, let me know about your discoveries in the comments below. If you tested the two tanks to compare parameters, what were your results? Let me know that in the comments below. And if you have any questions at all, post it in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you guys learned something today. And again, if you're brand new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. It helps out a lot. And click the bell icon to be notified every single time I make a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Coral Reef Talk.